Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I've been to the Boneyard section of my local shop and I picked up this nice looking M4. Now it doesn't shoot and it seems like it's purely an electrical issue. I've hooked up a battery in the stock and I'm pretty sure the battery works. I can get another gun to test that as well so you can see. And it just seems completely dead, like no power going to the motor at all. But it's a neat little thing. It's got a lot of polymer parts, like the hand guards. I say polymer. It feels like that fiber reinforced plastic again. Same thing with the flash hider here. But the barrel's metal, which is nice. It has a neat feature where the charging handle, when you expose the pop-up chamber, as you normally do, it stays locked back. That's really neat. And the bolt release by there is what lets it forward again. I like that. And it's a neat little gun. I'd like to fix it up to use as a like a borrow gun, so if anybody comes on a skirmish with me they can lend this. And I had it for 20 quid, so I thought, yeah, let's give it a go. So I wanted to make a video from this of me just exploring the issues that are wrong with it. So let's take it apart together and see if we can find out what the issue is. First step, we need to take off the front of the gun. And conveniently, because it's rear wired, you just drift out this front pin here and then the entire upper slides off the gun. I'll go get some tools and I'll be right back. Wow. Perfect. Now I have taken a look at the barrel. That all seems fine. It is a cheaper, like aluminium, sort of plain aluminium, no coating, no treatment or anything. But it looks fine down the bore, and the hop-up rubber and the chamber seems to adjust fine. It all looks in good shape, so I'm not going to really touch that. I've already given it a slight clean. Whoops, I have to sort that out afterwards. But let's concentrate on this section. And I'll tell you what, we'll get a battery as well. And I'll get the other gun too, so you can see that the battery's charged, and it's just, we're not getting electrical, we're not getting power. Yeah. I can't even hear the motor trying to torque in the grip. It's not, normally when you have power to the motor and the gearbox is jammed, or you've got a low battery or something's wrong, you can hear the motor trying to turn. It'll kind of knock against the inside of the grip, but there's just absolutely nothing. So let's make sure it's not just the battery. I'm going to have to use an adapter because I've wired my other gun to ultra plug connector. So we've got a little adapter here. So here's my other one. Right, semi, safe direction. Sounds a little low actually. Oh no, it's okay. Right, so the battery's okay. Let's see. It's a bit stiff to get off, but he's coming. There we go. Now can I get that out of there? Because there is a little plug in this tube. Let me see if I can punch that out. Can't see, I'll show you afterwards. There he goes. Just got to squeeze past this cable, but there we are, you can hear him rattling around now. There's the screw. There's the plug. Now this should be able to pass through freely. Yeah, good. Okay. Next, let's take off the grip here. Now, I have checked this gun already to see if the connections were loose on the motor, and I found that they were a bit loose, and I did tighten them, and it still didn't work. So I don't think it's that. And what I didn't mention is the trigger pull feels a little strange. So there might be something mechanical going on in there. I'm not going to detension the motor in the base plate because I'd like it to stay where it was from the factory. Is that in focus? Yeah, that's okay. So I won't adjust that. I'll just apply pressure to it while I'm removing the screws. There we go. So that I'm not putting any pressure on the threads here, because some grips have threaded brass inserts in them, but this doesn't, so it's just screwing into the plastic, and if you rip the threads out, you're pretty much SOL. So I might test this motor in a bit, just putting a battery straight across it. Right, let's pop that there. This is the right size. Feels good? Yeah. So let's see. Got him all the way. There he goes. Yeah, and there's no tension on that, I can just push it through easily. And I think that there is the last pin. There we go. Oops. Okay, that is part of the catch, I believe, for the mock bolt. I have to get this mechanism out first. He's going. There we are. Hopefully now that should lift out. Okay, I'm going to pause the camera, I'm going to see if I can wrestle this thing out, and then I'll tell you how I did it afterwards. Okay, I got there in the end. This piece, which is the like the bolt release catch, just had to come out after the pin was drifted out, just pull directly out the side like that. In terms of how I got this out, I just wiggled it, moved it forward, played with the selector switch until it kind of broke free. I don't know how I did it. I couldn't tell you. What I'd like to do really, if I had a multimeter, is check the continuity between the battery end and here and see if that changed when I pull the trigger. I'm going to have a little look at this, just inspect it from the outside to see if there's anything I can see, like loose connections or... No, that looks on there solid. What's going on behind the tappet plate? A bit of wear there. Looks a bit scraped about. Nice to see though, metal bushes, and they might even be bearings actually. There, that looks like a bearing, doesn't it? Rather than a bush, because that's solid. And I've been thinking about that too. If I was going to put bearings in a motor, I'd put it down here, because that's where there's the least load on the actual gear itself, and then when it starts to get up here, you've got more load from the spring. Nice to see as well, it's got a ported barrel, which makes sense. It's got a very short barrel and, ported cylinder. So it has a short barrel, and a ported cylinder makes sense. Otherwise your FPS will go down if you have a solid cylinder with a short barrel. Right, well, nothing is really making itself apparent to me at the moment. So I'll come back to it later. I can bring the camera in closer and we can get more in depth as to what's wrong with this. I've had a look online to find out a bit more about this this gearbox, and I looked up the brand of the gun. It's a NUPROL Delta, and it seems that the range of guns, the NUPROL range of guns, all have this same gearbox. And I did note before that the trigger felt a little strange, and I did suspect maybe this was the case, but yeah, it has a microswitch trigger in it. And these, it seems that these can experience issues. It seems quite common. Either the microswitch itself is burnt out, but what is more often the case is a little disconnector mechanism in here. It's a disconnector mechanism that's mounted on the actual trigger, this trigger that moves. And it seems to slip over the microswitch rather than depressing it fully. I don't know exactly if that's going to be the case. I can't tell from looking from the outside. But I'm going to go in and hopefully it'll be a simple fix. A couple of things to note about this gearbox as well. Now that I've got it out, I was able to have a look at the the shimming, the bushes, what's going on with all of this stuff. And yeah, I want to show you some things I've noticed. So if I bring this a little closer, try and get the light in there a bit nicer, that's a bit better. I hold this as still as possible. There's a little movement. Let me try and get that really stable. You know, a little bit of movement on the bevel gear. And I like to leave a little slop in the gears, not a lot, because I'd rather them be a little slightly on the loose side than be on the tight side. Now, I looked up at the next one. This is a bevel gear here, the pivot for the bevel. And this is a pivot for the spur gear. And this one, it's going to be hard to show you on camera, but like I can't feel anything. There's no movement in there at all. That feels too tight. If I was shimming a gearbox and put it back together and I felt this, I'd think there's too many shims. I have to take it apart and shim it again. So I think that's going to be, let me make sure it's focused. That's going to need to be sorted. And I think we might get a bit more power out of it if I sort that as well. I've also noticed that, yeah, it is a quick change spring guide. Now this is in the locked position. So where these two like rectangular slots are here, that's where the sort of the lugs of the spring guide would, they would be free to move out through those slots. Right now the lugs are in this position, the 9 and 3 o'clock position. But you see the empty space here? There are little grub screws in there. And that completely defeats the entire purpose of having a quick change spring guide. So I'm going to have to take this gearbox apart like it was a regular one. And then, hang on, focus, thank you. And then remove those grub screws. I don't know why they did that. Anyway, let's make a start on disassembling this gearbox. Oh, tried to. Right, let's see, did the shims stay in place? That's our spur gear shim right there from the other side of the gearbox. Okay, here's the micro switch. And that's the little disconnector mechanism there from what I've seen online. This little bar here. There's the little button for the micro switch. That's what gets pressed in. Let me just feel what kind of tension there is on that. It's not that difficult to push. There he goes. All right. Yeah, I want to just manipulate this trigger from here. Let's try and support the pivot. Alright, well that seems to be working just fine. That's not slipping. Normally what I've seen on the videos is this little mechanism here. See if it lifts. Yeah, it lifts slightly. And it would slip up and over that micro switch. But from what I can see, yeah, that's pushing the micro switch just fine. So it's going to be a fault in the micro switch. So I pulled out the micro switch, and like from the outside, you know, it's not giving away anything. I won't be able to tell what's going on inside it from here. I need to test it somehow, or just open it up and have a look inside. But I'm not going to get into that right now. I think I'm going to look at the shimming of the gearbox a second, because that's something that I can look at quite easily now. Let's get that reversal stop latch out. I managed to keep the factory shimming in place and not disturb that. So I'd like to have a look at what's going on with this a second. Let's put these two halves together. Now all of the shims are where they should be. There's nothing left stuck on the inside of this side. So that's as it was from the factory. Or the previous owner, as the case may be, because it was a Boneyard gun. Let's have a feel again. Yeah, so that, hang on, I'm pushing in the wrong place, hang on. Nothing, that's too tight. This one still moves? Yes, it does. Let's see, let's give him a spin, see what happens. Yeah, that's, wow, that is really stiff. So that gearbox is working, when it was working, if it was working, a lot harder. Yeah, that's totally tight. That's not just a little bit sort of stuck, that is really stiff. Like, I can turn it. I mean, I'm just pinching the gearbox shell together, mind you. That's it, I'm just pinching the gearbox shell. If that was cinched down with all of these screws, yeah. I don't really want to flex that wire too much and put pressure on the solder. Right, there we go. Let's see. Does anything look burnt up in there? I mean, it looks okay from the outside. Let me get that right up close for you. It doesn't look... It doesn't look broken, does it? Or burnt up? Yeah, there it is. There's the grub screws. So they're going to come out. Might have to just twist them out with a pair of pliers. Yeah, and the seal on the cylinder. Let's have a look at that. Well, that's a nice, that moves very freely. Yeah, that's a good seal. It seems like a perfect fitting O-ring actually. Yeah, that's a good seal there. How about the nozzle? No O-ring in the nozzle. Just check the seal with the nozzle on. Yeah, try and get it in the extended position to check it. That's fine. Yeah, it's a good fit on the nozzle as well, even though there's no O-ring. Nice air seal. Yeah, it's just going to be a case of figure out what I want to do with this trigger, test the little micro switch trigger, see if anything wrong with that there. It may just be a case of cleaning the contacts. I really don't know. All right, I've had a good look, and I feel a little bit silly that I didn't check this more properly before. The motor and the switch are fine. Nothing wrong with them at all. I just didn't check properly that these connections were crimped on. I think it was the tension of the wire being sort of doubled over within the grip that gave the illusion of it fitting on there tight. Which way does it go? That way. Okay, here's the motor and pushing the switch. He's fine. So that's good. And in all honesty, I think it's the best, that's the best outcome really, that I ended up taking this apart, because that shimming was way too tight. And I wanted to check what the compression was like on the cylinder, And I need to sort this issue out with the spring guide anyway. So let's have a look at getting these. Let's put this stuff to the side. And let's have a look at getting these pins out of here. These look like grub screws, but there's no head on the screw. It's like they screwed them in and then like just ground them off. Am I actually rotating that? Yes, I think I am. Let's have a look. No, it's not. Those are just permanently in there. All I've been doing is twisting the threads off of him. So I'm going to have to nip them off and file them. Now I don't think that'll be a problem when I do. They might have done it for a reason, but it doesn't make sense to me. So I'm gonna take them off. Let's give it a little spin. Yeah, that's way better than it was. The spur gear just wasn't moving at all. So yeah, I just wanted to show you the shimming and how that looks now. And I'm going to reassemble everything. And oh, and also, before I forget, I did cut the screws off. I filed down the screws that were sticking out from here and here. So now this looks just like a regular quick change spring guide. Right. Yeah, I'm just going to finish reassembling it and we'll be on to a test fire. Okay, I reassembled the gun and gave it a test fire. And it would only shoot in semi-automatic, even if I flipped the selector to full automatic. Now that's, on the face of it, that's not a massive issue until you get to the potential for the gun locking up in semi. And the only way you really fix that without dismantling the gun is you flip it to automatic. It bypasses a cutoff lever and all the disconnector mechanisms and then gets it out of that locked up position. Of course, if the gun can only do semi, you're stuck. So I decided that I was going to take it apart again, and I removed the cutoff lever, and now it only shoots in automatic. So it's either in the safe position, and then semi position is automatic, and automatic position is automatic. I thought that'll do for now. I don't know the ins and outs of this micro switch mechanism and what issues it may or may not have. Don't really want to get into it for the minute. I just wanted to get it working so I could check the power, check the rate of fire, and just do a firing test and basically just have a working gun, even if it's not working completely right. It's shooting a little hot, so I'd like to dial it back. But I'd also, I imagine that will also make the rate of fire a little higher, which is nice. But it's already got a good rate of fire. It's about 700 rounds a minute. So yeah, let's do a shooting test so you can see how it shoots.